What's up, buddy?
Yo, I'm just glad to finally be recording. I've been watching you on the Zoom call, basically
What are you
mess
talking
with your microphone for the
about? My
last
microphone's fine. What are you talking about?
20 minutes. Just watching you fumble around with it. Actually caused me some angst and um, my health was being impacted. Our relational health was being impacted. I was questioning my investment in our relationship and if it was truly worth the health benefits that are potentially a result. So that being said, uh, dude, we just wrapped up Health Month.
Yeah.
We wanted to do some real talks on just to do a series on the Connect Life Circle and just things we talk about in the group. And so I'm pretty excited about this because it's, I will say there is a risk, specifically for you and I, as we go through the curriculum, multiple iterations of it. This is probably our third or fourth time through with different groups of men. And I think there's a risk of um, the potential for it to kind of be stale in our lives.
Yeah.
Because it's just repetitive, and if you don't take it really seriously and reassess, what I love about it though is if you do it in the way it's intended, every time this topics come up again, you do a full reassessment, right? You dive deep into where you're at, because anybody who can take any of the topics that we talk about and are like, "Yep, I'm 100%, I'm a 10, I'm crushing it." You may be crushing it, but there's always room for improvement. And diving deep into these topics forces you to at least acknowledge if there's room for growth or not. And for me, this health month that we just did was actually probably the most impactful one that for me personally that we've been through, the most powerful iteration that we've been through. And we just want to share a couple, takeaways and also just give context to what it is we're doing in the TKM with a couple real talks in this series.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited to learn more about, why this iteration was one, I guess maybe the most successful for you, and two, the most impactful for you. So let's
Yeah,
dive
man.
in.
Well, yeah, and so just real quick context, what we do with every topic that we talk about in TKM and the Kinetic Man, there's a couple things that we do. One, I think everybody would benefit by defining the things that are important in their life. And no kidding, we did this in our roles PDF, which we offer that for free. And it really, step one in the roles PDF and the roles that we fill as men in our businesses, our homes, and our relationships is to define. Like no kidding, like grab a dictionary, or for all you that download a dictionary on your phone, whatever, however it is, go to a dictionary, go to a source, and define the words that are empower that are important and powerful to you. And so, specifically this month, we did Health Month, and the definition I found it to be very insightful. But the state of being free of illness or injury, a person's mental or physical condition, right? That was the first one. There's a following definition that says a state of complete spiritual, mental, physical, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Why we do that is, I think a lot of us are prone to think of health, and it's a very it's so ubiquitous that we oftentimes don't dive deep into like what it really means, right? Like everybody, "Oh, I want to be healthy." Yep. Do you want to be healthy? Yep. Dumb question. I want to be healthy. Everybody wants to be healthy, but oftentimes when you say, "Well, what does that mean?" What you find out is that that second definition is really germane to a lot of folks, and what that means is a lot of us are looking at health and considering it to be the absence of disease or infirmity. That's not really thriving, right?
Yeah.
Like just not being sick. Not only is it only focused on, maybe mental and physical. Most people would say physical. When I say, hey, just not being sick, they think physical. So not only is it only considering your physical health, but it's not really considering your physical health. It's considering, how do I not be in bad health? And that's a pretty low bar, dude. Like that's not thriving to me, right? That's avoidance. That's living in a state of denial. You're denying yourself the true benefits of great health and whatever that means. And you're just not sick, which is kind of sad because I think that's where most of us really live. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, dude, for sure. There was one of the podcasters, host of a podcast He's a doctor. He wrote a book recently called Outlive, a guy named Peter Attia. I listened to him a lot, and he gave this graph that I thought was really, really powerful. I'm saying the same thing that you did.
Yes.
Powerful, impactful,
And powerful.
and
And powerful. Yeah, it's a word.
powerful. It's a
I
new
need to
word.
look that definition up too.
Um, that there's a graph basically that says like if you want to be able to climb stairs at the age, I think it was like 70. There's like multiple lines. There's a graph that you need to be in the 90 percentile for VO2 max at that age group, just to be able to like climb stairs when you're 70 years old. And to me, that was like, oh dang, like I want to be able to climb stairs when I'm 70 years old, which means I need to be at the 90 percentile ranking of like average VO2 maxes for my age group. Not only then, but now because I need to like stay there, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's not just like just being healthy. That's like thriving. Like I need to be in the 90th percentile so that I can climb stairs when I'm 70. Like that's way different of a mindset.
Hmm. Well, and one of the things he said in a recent podcast I listened to, I've been diving deep into some Huberman, with Health Month. You and I
Yeah.
love going deep in different research, and so there's a number of things we've been researching. But I listened to a podcast, and I can't recall where it was. Maybe it was Peter Tia on Huberman. But what I really enjoy, what I thought was eye opening, is he talked about longevity, like his book, Outlive, and he's known as longevity, right? Um, but he said, the goal isn't just to live a longer life. He was like, if I'm living a life doing the things I want to do, and it's a rich life and I'm thriving, I would much rather that be into my 70s and potentially die instead of live to 100 and just prolong my suffering, right? Like he was like, you can, the point is not longevity. The point is quality of life. And to
Yeah,
your
for
point, and I
sure.
think that VO2, it was really insightful. And I think it was just so our audience isn't too uncomfortable, it's a brisk climbing of the stairs, right? It's like getting up the stairs quickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, but the point is, I was recently, we live by Red Rocks, and anybody who has never heard of Red Rocks, the amphitheater, the music venue, you should look it up. It's a beautiful site, and even better than look it up, you should come visit it. It is such a great place to watch
It's an
we
amazing
do so many things
experience.
there. Amazing experience. But one of the things we do there with the Kinetic Men, we do workouts there
Yeah.
because there's all these stairs. It's intense. It's awesome. It is just a phenomenal workout. And I had some family come out, and and this is not the first time. There's so many people, they come into the, like, they always question, how can I park at a place that I can avoid like all the stairs and all the climbing and all the stuff. And it more recently, as just become more aware of it, I used to be in the camp of like, yeah, man, yeah, it's tough. And now I'm like, man, that's sad. Like, I want to be the guy my whole life is, where do I park so I could climb up those stairs and have that experience?
Yeah.
Right. Like just that. And it happened recently, and it affected me differently to hear my family say that. Whoever, the people that came and visited, they're like, oh man, like I don't think I can even do that. And it's like, dude, and they're older, right? And so I think there are things that you can look at. And one of the things that we talked about, and before I move on, so the point of this, and you made a great point, is not, you can't look at the graph and then assume, okay, XY axis, when I'm 70, I have to get to this 90th percentile. No, dude, that starts yesterday. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's not an overnight thing, right? Like you have to have a life, um, the habit and basically the lifestyle that carries you through those later years. It's not something you can start. And I don't want to dissuade anybody from working out. You can always start working out, and it's going to be a benefit to you to not that, more of a benefit than not starting. But we should start today. We should start today looking at, and if you're in your 40s, you should be looking and thinking what you want to do in your 70s and 80s and preparing for that now, and your life will be richer that entire time, right? And so the identity statement that we make in the Kinetic Man is, Kinetic Men are intentional about creating positive daily habits that better their health. We are healthy, right? Like we are healthy. That's a goal. And Kinetic Men have a goal to be active centenarians. that's something that we put in there is that we were looking forward not only to longevity, but to thriving into those later years in life so that that life is rich, that it's a rich life. It's not just oh, I'm 100 years old and I'm absolutely miserable and I can't get out of my couch. Like that would, I mean, quite frankly, I would rather just die, right? Like that does not sound appealing to me. And one of the things we talked about that was really impactful to me is we asked the dudes, hey, with a show of hands, how many of you have, super healthy parents that are actively engaged with their kids? And I was interested. It was interesting to me. A lot of dudes raised their hand, but then I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I asked a following question, and I said, we presented. We said, do you envy your parents' mental and physical health? And the hands went down, and then the truth started coming out, like the full truth, right? Like, oh, I didn't really. When you ask it that way, it's a different thing. And the point of the question wasn't to parent bash; it was to get a perspective, because you can look at your parents and see where 20 years or 30 years, however older your parents are for you than you are, you can see what your future potentially looks like, good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say good or bad, desirous or not desirous. And specifically, if you ask your parents, hey, 20 years ago, did you anticipate being where you are today? It's an interesting question. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, just ask yourself, 20 years ago for you, did you anticipate being in the health that you currently are in when you were in your 20s, if you're 40 years old? Or did you even think about in your 20s what you were going to look like or act like or feel like in your 40s? Probably not. But if you had that foresight, would you have made different decisions then? Most people would say yes. Okay.
I would venture to say almost everybody would say yes.
Almost everybody would say yes, right? But yet there's still a disconnect in that logic. You can do the same thing today, looking forward into your 60s, 70s, 80s. You could do that today. And most of us still don't do it. But when you frame the question that way, and I would encourage our audience to think about it, like, okay, I often don't think about the 60s. I think about today. I'm not thinking about my 60s and 70s. But if you were to think about your 60s and 70s and you look at your parents as an example, would you do something different today and every day?
Yeah, dude. I have opposites of that spectrum, in different sides of the family, and it's a really good exercise to kind of look at one side, then look at the other side, and see where, where I could be, and the decisions I make now have a major impact on what that will look like down the road. That's been a huge driver for me. It's been a huge motivator for me to get up at 4 a.m. and to get outside when it's cold and go for a ruck, or to go for a run, to get to the gym at 5 a.m., on days when I didn't sleep well, or, when the kids were waking me up in the middle of the night. And it's been a huge motivator for me to hire a health coach, performance coach, um, eat differently, and show up in a different way, because I want to be in the 90 percentile at 70 and do the brisk stair walk. And I think that, looking at it with that lens, looking at it like, what do I want to do in the last 10 years of my life, has been a major driver for me, right? Like, I want to be able to get on the floor with my grandkids and play. I want to be able to not tell my kids or grandkids that I'm too tired when they ask me to play, right? Like, I want to be able to get jiggy with it on the dance floor at my granddaughter's wedding. Like, that's the stuff that like motivates me. It's not just about like looking good and having a six pack abs in the mirror or on the beach, right? Like, it's way more than that.
Yeah, man. Well, and I look, when I go, we mountain bike, we snowboard, we ski, we do a lot of stuff outside. And I look at some of there's this lady that I can picture right now that just crushes up the mountain.
Mountain bike,
Older woman.
know
She
exactly who you're
rides
talking
by
about.
our house, by my house, and she's ripped, and just like beast. And she's got to be upper 60s, 70s. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
was
old
gonna
she
say
is.
70s.
Yeah, but she is a beast. And there's like some older dudes that just like crush, man, just absolutely crush. And again, that So look at that, dude. And if you you know, if you're brave enough and there's those people in your life that you just notice in your activities, ask them like, oh, when did you start doing this last year? No, dude. This is like decades in the making, right? It builds and it builds and it builds. And they're most of them smiling, happy, like they're also the activity does something more profound than just physical activity. And we're about to wrap this one up, and we'll do another episode on health, how it's impacted us specifically. But I will say the other side of this is a lot of us don't dig deep enough into understanding the residual benefits. Like, say it's physical that you're focused on. We don't focus on the or we don't necessarily give time and attention to the residual benefits of that, meaning or the ancillary or the the side benefits, mental, physical, spiritual, relational, all those other things. And there's also some dudes in the group who are like, hey man, I'm pretty good like I feel like a great place physically, but I'm not in a good place mentally. Like that goes directly to health. Some folks are not in a good place spiritually, spiritual health, relational health. I mean, you read some of the studies that we dive into in that book that I never remember the name. I don't know why I can't remember the name of that book. It is a absolute brain fart. What's the book name on happiness? What's it called?
Oh,
The Happy Life or something like that?
The Good
Wait,
Life.
The Good Life. Thank you. The Good Life. Because I think the happiness study and I never get to the good life.
Yeah.
But that book, one of the things it highlights, and this is data, this is science, this is not TKM, is the health benefits of relationships, right? And the the detrimental impacts of not having a relationship. So relational health, like that should be at the top of your list too. When you're thinking about health, it should go well beyond six pack and crash diets. It should
Yeah.
go into like, let me take an honest assessment of what's going on. Do I have friends? Be honest with yourself. Do I have friends? If the answer, yes, of course I do. Okay, cool. Could you pick up the phone and call them right now? Like, do you have that list of people? Do you have that group of people? Could you stop at their house and just stop by for a visit? Like, can you do that? Then yes or no, you don't have friends, right? Or how are your relationships with dig into like your kids, if you have kids, your wife, your husband, whatever, and like no kidding, make an assessment because all these things go towards longevity and quality of life. And so health, this topic, one of my favorites, I love it because it is so diverse and it is also like there's never going to be a place where I'm like, yep, I have all the friends I want to have. I've, my relationships are all perfect. My physical health is great. My mental health is awesome. And I'm just thriving. No, like I want to be growing in these areas very specifically, intentionally. And that's the benefit of diving into topics like this.
Yeah, dude. Another great resource. Highly recommend. We've probably mentioned it on the podcast before, but the Netflix documentary "Live to 100: Secrets of the Blue Zones." I think it's like a 6 or 8 series. It's it's fantastic, and
Yeah.
there's so much that goes into these blue zones where people are living to 100, and one of the primary data drivers is relationships and having friends and being social, and it's man, it's awesome.
Yeah, buddy. All right. See you next time.
Get healthy. Bye now.
Empowering yourself.
Em, em, powerful impacting.
Empowerfulling packs. See you.
See ya.